Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on same-day referencing, utilising new technology in the form of open banking. My name's Mike Dawson and I am the head of sales for the group. I'm joined today by Becky, our head of referencing. She is essentially responsible for all things referencing, starting with the team, but also obviously making sure that the referencing is award-winning, as it has been for a number of years now. We are announcing essentially the biggest change that we've made in referencing in times gone by. And this is utilising new technology in the form of open banking and revolutionising our process in terms of going down a route of hitting several different points in terms of criteria. That's making the process more comprehensive, because obviously referencing is the most important. When you're dealing with referencing, comprehensive edge is the most important aspect, but also making reference more efficient, quicker and slicker. And essentially open banking aligns with that model that we are working towards within HomeLet now. Going back to the fact that it is the biggest change in times gone by, that's because as an industry for the last 25 years now, we've been working in very much the same way year on year. There's not been a significant change in the process of how a reference is conducted. We contact the employer, we contact previous letting agent landlord, and we access very basic information in terms of the credit check. We collate all of that information together, and then we give an overall grading that you as the agent will utilise and use in terms of moving that tenant into the property or not. Nice and simple. What we have seen over the last 25 years, though, is a massive change in terms of how we use digital now, how we make use of digital and technology, and where things have moved. I mean, I'm too young to know 25 years ago, to be honest. But for those of you that do know what it was like 25 years ago, we were walking around with bricks and we were having to put the antenna up on our phones. Nowadays, we're walking around with these very small phones that are touchpad, and it's nice and quirky. And that just shows as a world how we've developed and evolved utilising technology. As I said, in the last 25 years as an industry in referencing, we've not made any significant changes because we've not, to be completely honest, had the technology to be able to do so. And you're only going to make changes at the point when you are confident and comfortable with the changes that you're going to make, and the fact that it hits the criteria that we mentioned before. We are confident and we are comfortable with this new change and utilising open banking. The reason that I say that is it's data that we've always utilised in the form of bank statements, pay slips, documentation from the relevant tenants and applicants. However, we're now getting it from reliable sources directly through the banks. It's factual data, and it cuts down the process considerably in terms of how long and how cumbersome the referencing journey can be to a certain degree. And open banking essentially is starting to now become more of a well-known term out there in the world, quite like when payment cards and you could tap the chip and pin device first came out, like we do now, and you can use a phone nowadays even to pay for things when you're going out and about. And quite like when that first came out, there was a lot of people that were unsure or concerned about it. Well, what does it mean? Is it too intrusive? I'm concerned that it's going to do this, it's going to do that. Open banking I see in a very similar mould in terms of it's taken this time now to really have the confidence that it is the right type of change, and actually we can trust this data, we can trust it's reliable, and from an applicant's perspective, they can see that it is less intrusive in the journey than collecting relevant documents, i.e. bank statements and pay slips. So yeah, that's where we're at. We've started with open banking now. We're utilising it within our referencing journey, and we've trialled it significantly over the last 12 months now, and we're at a point where we're comfortable, we're confident that it will make a dramatic change in terms of how we reference tenants. And then from our perspective, it allows us to hit the criteria that we mentioned in terms of making it more comprehensive, but obviously quicker and slicker. So, Becky, in terms of from your point, where do you feel open banking will make the most significant changes?
Well, where do I begin? I've been working for Homelet now for 14 years, and as you've touched on, the process has changed. Here and there, we've made a few adjustments, we've introduced a few new processes, but there hasn't been a fundamental step change for as long as I've been here. So this is absolutely it, and it is absolutely the future, and it's where we need to go. It's a complete enhancement to the journey that we've developed over the last 25 years. A bit like a fine wine, I like to think we get better with age. We are continually improving, learning about ourselves and from our applicants, our customers and our letting agents as we go, and enhancing the process year by year by year. But this is absolutely going to revolutionise the way that we do things. And as you've summarised beautifully, so access to open banking gives us a one-time use with the consent of the individual that's being referenced to access their transactions for up to the last 12 months. And the brilliant thing about this is it can't be manipulated or altered or adjusted in any way. So you know that they've happened and you know how often they've happened. So it gives you a much clearer picture of that applicant's ability to pay the rent based on what's coming in and what's coming out in terms of salary and rent payments. And as you mentioned, the word intrusive at the beginning, we've had a lot of feedback over the years that the processes that we've developed can often be intrusive. I don't want to provide my bank statements, my pay slips, my contract of employment, my tenancy agreement, and anything else we might request to satisfy the reference. But they're having to do it as a means to an end, and that they kind of feel like they haven't got a choice. Some applicants, guarantors, they won't want to provide access to their employer because they might not want to let anyone know that they're moving at this stage, or their landlord. And this gives the applicant a little bit more control, sort of masters of their own destiny is often the term that I use, because this technology allows them to be in control of the data that they provide to us, and almost allows them to be in control in terms of how quickly we can turn that around. Whilst we've developed a brilliant process, and I'm obviously not biased, we turn things around quickly in our traditional methods. This kind of goes way above what we would possibly be able to do in a traditional method. And the beauty of the process that we've developed with open banking is, so as long as an applicant gives us consent to that information, and we can locate the transactions that we deem are relevant, tick in the box, we don't need anything else. If, however, my team are then looking at that and something doesn't tally up, or we're not quite seeing what we need in terms of the full picture in the bank statements, like the banking transactions, or you can see salary but you can't see rent, the process that we have developed allows a seamless transition into a manual reference as and when needed. And I often describe it as using technology where we can and as often as we can, because it can't be manipulated as I've touched on, but using people and trained team members where we have to. And the references that we're able to deliver give exactly that. So, if I can see one element of the reference with bank data but not the other, we have at the touch of a button an ability to still go down our traditional tried and trusted method. But also, if neither of those references can be fully satisfied using those banking transactions without any further involvement from the applicant or the agent, we can switch that onto a manual reference really simply. So we have that overflow, if you like, and that fallback.
Exactly, and I think you hit the nail on the head there, because one of the big things that agents obviously feel with getting a reference from Homelet is that they're using experts in their own field, and that's what we are. You and your team are experts in their field. They do referencing on a daily basis. They've been doing it for months, years, and so on and so on. As you said, you've been with Homelet for 10 years now. Did you say
14 now?
14 over 10 years. Fantastic. So we know what doesn't look right. We know what in terms of we know what quite doesn't add up and tally up. And I think utilising technology, but still having a team member looking through the information that's being collated and giving their overall, utilising their overall experience to give their own understanding of it, and making referencing still very much intelligent referencing rather than it being solely tech or solely manual. Bringing the two together and finding that solution of what we class now as same day referencing allows us to take it to the next level. It allows us to still keep that comprehensive edge, because we're utilising factual data, we're utilising new technology, but we've still got the human eyes looking over it to make sure if we need to go and look into further detail because there's no consistency in the data or there's something that doesn't quite look right, we can do that. But if we speak to, let's say, for instance, as an example, landlord, the rental payments don't quite tally up and the dates are inconsistent and the amounts are inconsistent, then obviously we'll speak to the landlord to verify and ask the simple question, would they rent to the tenant again? But what we've got now is we've got a firmed up process that's there to fall back on to say, well, if you would rent to this tenant again, why would you? Because actually we can see there's inconsistency in the rent. And that's always been, I suppose, an issue with the process of referencing to a certain degree of old, is that sometimes you can get from a landlord reference, you give a good reference when you've got a good tenant, but you also give a good reference when you've got a bad tenant. And obviously this is for us about adapting and finding the best solution moving forward. Bringing the two processes together allows for that. So I think your point on having the team still looking through the reference is extremely important. Obviously, SLA is 24 hours. So are we finding that we're completing the majority of them now within 24 hours rather than the old SLA of 48 hours when open banking's not been used?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you've got the data at hand and, everything ties up beautifully, the reference can be completed really, really quickly. So we refer to it as same day. Typically, you're going to get your result within a couple of hours, which, we add that couple of hours because, it's that blend of technology and people, and having somebody eyeball and handhold that report so that the applicant or guarantor going through that process isn't fully subject to a full automated process, which often can't give the full story. So whilst there is some value in absolutely automating as much as you possibly can, there are some elements where, you might want to take a step back and sort of observe that sort of with human eyes to help make a fair outcome and a fair decision for that customer. And as the processes that we've developed over the years in HomeLet, we've included a number of other data sources. So as an example, CIFAS, so access to the National Fraud Database. Under no circumstances can any matches against CIFAS be subject to an automated process. So absolutely, if you've got a bank data reference where there is a CIFAS alert, that absolutely needs hand-holding. The same as our internal checks against our list of previous defaulting tenants on our rent guarantees, that cannot be subject to an automated process because you've got to understand the circumstances. So that's where we believe there's value in blending that technology and that human input. It will absolutely deliver a much quicker, much more efficient and effective reference within hours, but you've still got to allow that time to do those other checks and balances properly to make sure we're getting it right first time and not having to do any rework or, driving any dissatisfaction where a guarantor calls in because we haven't understood the full story, for example. So I absolutely think the process has been optimised, and we've really taken our time to develop that to make sure it ticks the boxes for you as the letting agent, but also the customer at the end of it as well, being the applicant or the guarantor. So absolutely. And the great thing about all of this is, all of our products are still available in terms of our rent guarantee solutions and anything else you are looking to do to support your landlord. They're all still available because we believe and we trust in the product that we've developed with our open banking solution. We are that confident it's the way to go. Why wouldn't we support you with the rent guarantee products? It's a no-brainer for us.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's for us. It's extremely important that we stand by our reference as we've always done, and that's what we do. We're willing to guarantee the rent where there's an acceptable reference on the tenant's own merit or with a guarantor. And what we feel is we're going to find that we'll cut out more of the fraudulent cases, but have a solution where more acceptable cases are going through. So we're essentially meeting 2 points which are extremely important for you as the letting agent and for us as the team in terms of finding that solution moving forward. And this is the starting point for us. We want to continue evolving and adapting as we always have done, and trying to find several solutions. And And what I would say is, you point there, Becky, about the additional services as well. Obviously, from our point, we reference the tenants, and until the tenant moves in and collects the keys, we've got lots of additional services that will generate significant income. And if you want to find out a little bit more about same day referencing, if you want to understand the intricacies, the finer details, then please get in touch with your account manager. But also, if you've got any queries relating to the additional products and services, then likewise, get in touch with your account manager and a member of the team will be able to help. So thank you very much for joining today, everyone. Really appreciate it. This is a massive new development for us. And we do feel it's hitting all elements of the criteria that we set ourselves in adapting and finding a solution moving forward for referencing. Thank you very much, Becky, for joining as well. Very much appreciated. And if anyone's got any queries, please give us a shout. We're more than happy to help with anything in moving forward. So please get in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you.